Go live. Good evening, everyone. We'll give it a few minutes and we'll let everybody sign in. And tonight we'll do a little bit of meditation and then Dhamma discussion and question and answers. So after the meditation, I'll do a short talk. And if you have any questions or anything that arises during the meditation or questions about the Dhamma talk, please feel free to type in your questions and I'll do my best to answer them. My name is Bhante Mettiko. You can see what I'm doing right now is messing with the monastery cat, trying to keep him from disrupting the live stream more than usual. But welcome everybody. I hope everyone has had a good evening. And we'll go ahead and get started with the meditation. So first thing, just get in a comfortable meditation position, posture, whatever is comfortable for you, whether it's sitting in a chair, sitting on a cushion, but we want to sit upright with our body stable and balanced. And so what we'll do is I'll give some brief instructions and then we'll sit and meditate. Meditation, it's a powerful time to really nourish our mind and our hearts and take that time really for ourselves. Maybe we've had a busy day, work, school, life in general, but now it's our time to just sit and meditate. So if those thoughts of the day come in, tomorrow, what happened yesterday, always just bring it back to the meditation. So we'll go ahead and get started. And as I said, just sit in a comfortable position, breathing in through the nose. And then as we breathe out, releasing all the tensions from the day, from the week. With every out breath, we let the mind settle. We breathe in, breathing out, releasing any tension in the body. And we just let the mind settle. In the stillness of the body. And as you breathe, bring your attention to the sensation, the feeling of the body. If the mind wanders, just bring it back to the sensation of the body. And you can even narrow your focus to how the body feels on the cushion, your seat, the feeling of your hands, feeling of your feet touching the floor. That sensation becomes your anchor. If the mind wanders, just bring it back to the sensation of the body, wherever you're holding your attention in your body. You want to slowly open your eyes. Bring your attention back. I want to say good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining in. I won't call out everybody's name. I don't want to mess up everybody's name, but thank you all for joining in. I do want to also thank Wagons, who's been rustling the cat, taking care of the cat, making sure that the live stream continues. So, thank you. And what I wanted to talk about tonight was reflecting upon, and a question that comes up a lot, and I see it a lot, even something that I wondered as a layperson, I would think about, how can I strengthen my practice? What can I do to really incorporate the Buddha's teachings into my daily life, in my interaction, which can be difficult. Sometimes we have busy lives. People have careers, studies, might have children, we might have guests that are running around. And so, what can we do to really, the Buddha's words, and strengthen our practice throughout the day? Because, even monastics, we don't sit in meditation all day. We are very fortunate, to have times of meditation. But how do we set our minds to that goal of peace? How do we set our minds to the freedom of the Buddha's words? And that's what I was going to talk about, some of the things tonight. So first, we'll pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So, as I was speaking about, how do we set our minds to those daily interactions in our lives that help us throughout the day, but also when we sit down. And one of the things, sit down for meditation, and one of the things that I always found helpful for myself is the 5 subjects of frequent recollection, or the 5 themes for recollection. This is actually, we have it in one of our chants, but also we find it in the numbered discourses. It's Sutta, if I remember correctly, in the book of 5.57. Translated in different ways, Venerable Bhante Mettiko, my preceptor, did a translation. You can find the translation on Sutta Central. Things to frequently contemplate. And one of the first things that the Buddha words call us to reflect upon is, I am the nature to age. I am not moved beyond aging. Venerable Siddhasa translates that as, I am the nature to decay. Which I also like, and I think that's what the Buddha is also pointing to in that reflection. We all, the moment that we're born, we start to age. We're all moving towards aging. We're all moving towards decay. None of us are exempt from that. And one of the beautiful things that I think about that is, and what I've found helpful is, in my own life, when we moved, or let's say, for example, I don't know if anyone's experienced this. If you have any experiences, you probably will. You see that picture of yourself and you're like, oh my gosh, I look so old. But when we reflect, I am the nature to age, it becomes natural. Like this is just a part of life. This is what it is. I'm the nature to decay. My body will fall apart. And that's natural. And the Buddha really talks about this as releasing us from that intoxication from youth. Sometimes we get stuck on, oh, when I was this age, things were so good. Or thinking about all the things in this world that, we turn on the TV, anti-aging cream, Botox. There's all these things to try and fight off the inevitable. But it's impossible. We're all the nature to age. Every one of us. Even Teddy is coming to check it out. He wants to hear the Dhamma talk. The cat has a lot of good karma. He gets to hear Dhamma talks all the time. Sitting meditation. So we look in the mirror and maybe we see a gray hair. All of a sudden we need bifocals. But we realize that's natural. That's part of aging. And as the Buddha said, our intoxication with youth, with being young, seems to fade and diminish. And we move past that. The next subject that we should frequently reflect upon is, I've not moved beyond illness or sickness. I am the nature to get sick. I'm the nature to get ill. And so, again, the Buddha talks about the intoxication with health, which can be very strong. Oh, my body's so strong, I'm this. But then when we get injured, or we do get sick, maybe we take it personal. Why did, I don't know if anyone's ever been in an accident or had fallen, broken a bone maybe. And we might have this moment where maybe we blame ourselves. Or we think, why did this happen to me? Or even, why did I get this illness? Why did I get COVID? Which, recently it happened to a lot of us. But we haven't moved beyond. We are the nature. The mere fact that we've come into this birth, that we've been born, we are the nature to get ill. We're in the nature to get sick. And the Buddha talks about this intoxication with health. But when we frequently reflect upon this, when those things come up, oh, my body hurts. Oh, I have a back. My back aches. I've got my back is aching. It becomes natural. It's not personal. It moves away from this idea of self. All of a sudden, I am this. That starts to loosen. And we don't take it as something, oh, why me? We take it as a natural process. The next thing, and the next subject to frequently reflect upon is I'm the nature to die. I have not moved beyond death. Which, and I know people sometimes say, "Oh, Buddhism is like pessimistic religion," and it's really not. These reflections are about, to me, really freedom, a true happiness, because the Buddha is pointing to these things that maybe we're afraid to look at. Death is, it can be a very scary thing. But when we frequently reflect upon this, all of a sudden, I shouldn't say all of a sudden, when we reflect upon this, I'll say in my own practice, it starts to remove maybe some of that fear of the unknown, fear of all of these things, and it becomes real. But again, it's also not being like negative or like Debbie Downer. Like, don't go around. I wouldn't recommend going around to everyone and say, you're going to die. It might not go over so well at work. I was thinking about this. So, if I remember correctly, there's a Japanese movie that came out, and I think the premise of the movie is anyone who watched the movie would die, or something. They would die. So I will say anyone watching this will die. That's 100%. I will die. Anyone who hears my voice will die at some point. And that's not to me, and some people may, oh my gosh, that's terrible. But it's also a reality. And when we reflect upon this, we begin to see it as just another process, another part of life. Being born is a part of life, and dying is being a part of life. And there's nothing we can do to change that. Like, we're all it's going to happen. And where I think, and the Buddha said, that intoxication with life, that becomes less and removed. And where the freedom starts to come from is, it's not to take our lives and all of a sudden, like, I'm going to die and I don't care. It's not that. No, our lives become precious. And what we do with our lives is precious. And when I really reflect upon that, I do feel, that's why I'm in robes. I used to sometimes think, I would think about this sometimes, like, if someone told me like I only had a couple of days left, or I was like stuck under a bus and about to die, like what would I regret? What would I wish I would have done? And so this reflection on, I am the nature to die, I've not moved beyond death. We can take that not as like, oh man, this is depressing. Don't take this depressing. I don't want it to depress anyone and bum everybody out. Everyone's going to be like in the comments, this is terrible. Like, this is so depressing. No, thinking about it becomes precious. Our lives become precious because we don't know how much time we have. And we should live our lives in the beauty of it, in the beauty of being alive. And if life is short, to me, there's no other choice but to live the Buddhist path and live a life of kindness. It's too short. Life is way too short to be cruel or mean to other people. So the next reflection, the fourth reflection, and I'm going to really read Venerable Siddhasa's translation of this. Everything that is beloved and pleasing will change and be separated from me. Again, something really powerful. And here we have the Buddha pointing to impermanence. Whatever, and we try so hard in our lives sometimes to hold on to things. We grasp it, and we hold it, but it's like holding sand in our hands. It just falls through. Whatever we attach to, we'll change, and it will change, and we'll become separated from it. So sometimes I reflect upon this, something I thought was so important. Maybe reflect or think about maybe a time when a toy you had when you were a child. And we loved it so much, it was so important to us. But what about now? Maybe even we think about maybe in a person we loved. Someone that was so dear to us. We loved them with everything. They were like, this is my world. This person's my world. And there's some of us, sometimes that things change. I've met people, they get married and they get divorced. This is the person they loved. They got married to. They got divorced and now they hate them. I'm laughing. I don't mean to make light of that. But that's what the Buddha is pointing to. Things change. Things that we hold so precious that we think, man, this is everything to me. It changes as we change. And we become separated from it. Sometimes it's in death. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying, you can't take it with you. I mean, in a way, that's what the Buddha is pointing to. It's going to become separated from us, everything. And like the reflection of death, I think for me, this brings in the preciousness. It's not like we don't take this as like, oh, well, sooner or later, this is going to be separate for me. Like, who cares? Like, I don't want to care about it. No, something may be in our life, and we realize this won't be in our life forever. So we hold the preciousness of it, the beauty of it. This is just a short time that this is in my life. And we hold it dear to us. Because we realize, as the Buddha taught us, it's impermanent. It'll become separated. We will become separated from us. In another way that I've always felt like, in a way that it cooled my mind or made me help me in my daily life, is also understanding like things come and go in our lives. People come and go in our lives, and it's not personal. It's the nature of life. Things come to us. They're in our lives. and then sometimes they're gone. And it's not because we're bad people, or maybe we've done, we blame ourselves sometimes. Oh, if I wouldn't have said this, or if I just did this, things would be different. No, the Buddha teaches us that everyone and everything, we will become separated from us. We'll reach that point. Sometimes I think about it, and I reflect. A long time ago, I was reflecting on, I think, in a lot of weddings, in Christian weddings, there's a phrase, "till death do us part." I remember thinking, well, that's not very Buddhist. That's not a Buddhist idea. Because it really should be until a comma that brought us together runs out, and then we separate. And again, I'm not making light, but that's the reality of it. Conditions come together and they produce. And then whatever comes in our life, and then we reach a point. Maybe it's through death, maybe it's through just impermanence, and those things are no longer in our life anymore. And it might be a person, it might be an object, a job, a home, but all those things change. And they come out of our life. And I'm going to read also the next one. And up to this point, it's going through all these things that we're going to become separated from. All four of those. I'm the subject to decay or aging. I'm the subject to sickness. I'm the subject to dying. I'm going to be separated from all those things. It's all those things the Buddha's teaching, like those things aren't going to be with us. But here's what is going to be with us. And this is, to me, also so powerful because it points to the way to lead our lives. Because this is really, we don't take that as a show. We don't, all those other things, we don't take our house with us when we die. We don't take our car with us. We don't take all those things. All our money in our bank isn't going to come with us. But here's what is with us. I am the owner of my karma, the recipient of my karma, born from my karma, bound to my karma, inseparable from my karma. Any action I shall do, whether good or evil, I will receive its results. And then the Buddha says, this should be frequently contemplated, whether one is a woman or a man, a lay person or a monastic. And that's for all of them. The Buddha says everybody should reflect upon that. And this just isn't for monastics. Oh, monastics just contemplate this. This is, everyone should contemplate this. And this goes to the importance of it. It's for everyone. It's not just for only men, only women, everyone, lay people, monastics. And as the Buddha taught, we're all heirs to our karma. And Mike, how powerful is that? We can't escape it. We can't escape our karma. I shouldn't put it like that. Because we're the heir to our karma. Our karma follows us. So, to me, very inspiring. It inspires me to live a wholesome way, to be wholesome. Because my karma is what is. I'm the heir to my karma. Right? So in that case, why wouldn't we want to live a life that is wholesome, that follows the Buddhist path, that follows the Buddhist teaching? Because that really is what we take with us. And so the Buddha encouraged us to think about this for ourselves. Because for me, again, it's inspiring. I've always found it inspiring. But also that idea of self. I am so special, I'll never get old. I can remember when I was a child, I used to think, I have an older brother. I can remember being young and I was like, I can't wait till I'm older than him. I didn't understand. It still hasn't happened yet. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he'll die before me and then I'll be older than him. I didn't understand the process. But again, we reflect on ourselves. And we take this reflection and it becomes, life is no longer personal. It's not, why did I get sick? It's, no, this is the nature of having a body. This is the nature of being a human being, is I'll get sick. I will die. It's the nature of having this existence, being born into this form. But the Buddha also encourages us to think, everyone else, just like me, we're all in the same boat. And the Buddha talks about this, when we have the realization of this, it really opens the path. We become inspired. Because we realize, like, this isn't, yeah, okay, I'm in nature age, but other people don't age. Like, no, everybody, we're all in the same boat. So what is the way out of this? What is the path? And the Buddha points to that. The Buddha gives us that way. And we follow that to the best, because that's where the true freedom is. That's where the true happiness is. The happiness isn't in, reliving our past and, oh, the glory days when I was so young, or, oh, I'm going to be healthy forever. No. When we accept we're subject to this and everybody else is. So what is the way out? And that's what the Buddha pointed to. He gave us the path, the Noble Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths. The Noble Eightfold Path is a way leading out of suffering. And that's the way we follow, to have complete freedom, a true freedom. Not the freedom that comes from, oh, I have a new outfit, I have a new car, all those things. Because it doesn't last, it's impermanent. So I hope that wasn't too depressing of a reflection or a talk. It wasn't too much of a downer. Again, I find those things, and I found it in my own practice. A lot of times, before every meditation session, I would just do that. I would go through those reflections. And they have a way of just working into the mind. And all of a sudden, something may happen and we realize, oh, well, of course, I'm the nature to get sick. We may get ill and then we think, oh, of course that happens. Or someone else gets sick, our best friend gets sick, our wife or our husband, our child gets sick. And the Buddha is saying, the Buddha doesn't say, oh, just forget about it, it's no big deal. No, but the Buddha also gives us the reality, like, this is natural. And we have also compassion for other people. We have compassion. Everyone we meet will die. Maybe before us, maybe after us. But we have compassion. Everyone we meet will be subject to sickness, we have compassion for them. They're in the same boat as us. And the same thing with people who are the air, they're the karma. It gives us equanimity. Just some thoughts that I have, or just some reflections, and I do encourage everyone to use these reflections. The Buddha's taught us these reflections. And I think, again, incorporating those into our daily practice can really give a lot of weight, a lot of power to just our daily lives as we interact throughout the world, but also our meditation. For me, it's always been a way to strengthen my meditation, or I found it a way of lightening the mind. And so when I sit in meditation, makes the mind, I think, more able to concentrate and settle. So now, after all those things, let me see. Please, if you have any questions, welcome everyone. Please, if anyone has any questions. Lots of loves. Greetings from hello to everyone. Thank you. And again, I don't want to go through everyone's name because I'm going to mispronounce everyone's name. And I'll give a couple seconds for any questions. Thank you for all the sadhus and anjalis. Bill says his son Kevin says hi. I'm glad that you're enjoying this with your son. Your son is able to watch this. Thank you. Hello, Vivek. And here's one question. I'm going to put this up from. This is from Kim. Would love to hear your thoughts on death contemplation, meditation. Any tips? Well, the Buddha does give the description, and I think it's important to look in the suttas. And the Buddha talks about the Chana ground contemplations. And ways of picturing the body through stages of decay. And that can be a very powerful meditation for people. And I think sometimes people become fascinated with that meditation. Or they're like, that's like hardcore. I'm going to picture death and a dying and all those things. And I think it's important to really reflect upon why am I doing this meditation? And what's this impact of this meditation on my mind? If it's stirring up agitation, or if it's stirring up aversion, it's going in the wrong way. Really, any meditation should be fostering those wholesome qualities and also those wholesome states of mind. And so I myself don't frequently do the death contemplations, meditations, but I do use that reflection. As I said, I'm in the nature to die. I'm not moved beyond dying. I reflect upon them. And that in itself has been very powerful for me, both in reflecting on my own life and the life of others, having people close to me die. that reflection became really powerful because I realized that it's just natural. And that doesn't mean like it didn't hurt or it wasn't sad. I'm still, you know, my father is deceased. I still miss my father. But also I understand that it's a, it's a natural process. And then he died, it's part of that natural process. And all the wishing in the world, that won't change that. Like nothing, as the Buddha said, it's a natural thing. And so I would encourage you to, if it works for you, Kim, and you find it in a way cooling the heart, cooling the mind, then you know. But if it's the opposite, and it's building aversion or building up unwholesome states of mind, then it's maybe not be the best meditation. I also think sometimes it's good to have, to ask, have a teacher guiding and things like that. All right. I hope that helped, Kim. So I think, I don't know if there's a second part. And Philip says, in 12 steps, they have a clever saying, yet you're eligible to. I'm not quite familiar with that. I don't know that one. But we're all eligible, right? We're all eligible all of us have got a ticket for decay, illness, and death. We're all getting on that ride. Kim says, I'm looking at it to get a grip on impermanence, not to be morbid. Yeah, that's good. It's difficult to embrace your own mortality. It isn't difficult to embrace your own mortality. I agree with you. Earlier today, I know Wagons, who's one of the yogis here, who's a resident here. You had mentioned you read someplace the number of people who die, like every
105 every minute, 555 million per year.
105 per minute.
Yes.
I don't have a calculator in front of me, so I can't do the math. 105. So I don't know however long this talk is. I'm not laughing. That's not funny. But that's a reality. 105 people are dying every minute. Wow. And it can be really scary. But when we look at those numbers, all of a sudden, it becomes a little bit more real. We're not special. We're going to be one of those 105 at some point. And I think when reflecting on our own mortality, it is scary sometimes. But again, I have found these reflections as a way of softening the heart and softening the mind. So it becomes a little bit less scary. And we're able to kind of embrace that a little bit more. And we understand this is part of life. And you're right, Kim. It can be very scary, and it's hard to lose the loved ones, and it's hard to lose pets and all those things, and ourselves. It's scary to think, man, I may lose my cognitive functioning. If I live long enough, I will lose. I've already seen a decline in my cognitive abilities. When I was younger, I used to be able to like memorize and do all these things so easily. So in a way, we can also reflect on that, and that gives us a chance to look at our own mortality. We've already lost some things. Like I've lost my eye. I can't see without my glasses. So when we reflect on some of those things, I think it brings us closer to being able to embrace that idea of our mortality, like we're not going to be here. And then also living in a way sometimes, like I think sometimes a way to embrace our mortality is to live in a wholesome, giving, kind way. And when you do those things, like that grip of that grip of our mortality loosens up. Our hearts open up to the possibility of life itself. And in doing so, mortality or our own death becomes less scary. It is, but it is a scary process. And sometimes you don't have to take it all on one thing. You do it bit by bit. What is comfortable for you, and work up to that. So again, just some thoughts, and I hope that's helpful. So we have a question from Rick. Bhante, as we experience freedom from these recollections, how does this affect how we love people and animals in our lives? Hello, Rick. Good evening. If I remember correctly, I think you take care of quite a few dogs. In the way that I found in my own life, these recollections, and I think I may have spoken about this, it made me value the preciousness of people in my life more, and animals. I'm a dog person, animal person. But one of the hard things about animals generally is that we outlive them. And knowing, earlier I talked about the Buddha encourages us to reflect on the nature of this, but so is everything else that's come into existence, these living things. And so when we reflect upon that, it becomes that more precious. Those other lives, those people around us, their lives become more precious to us. Because we realize it's impermanent. They're not going to be here forever. And that's not to, again, not to make it sad or like depressing. I don't know if it's depressing or we're getting sad, it shouldn't be that way. It should be the opposite. Like we should embrace, like this is our time together. And I'm going to make, because it is precious, because I don't know if it's going to be here tomorrow, I'm going to live in a way that's, and open my heart in a way fully to embrace these things, to embrace this life that's with me. And when, or if those things get sick, those precious lives that are in our life, those animals, those people, when they get sick or they die, we reflect like, man, we may reflect like, I don't like this, this hurts. But it's also, it has to be. This is the nature of things. again, it is, we don't take it like, why? Uh, recently, my son, I have a son who has a lot of dogs. He and his husband, they have a lot of dogs. When their dogs die, and it's hard. But it's also the nature of things. And it's not to be cold, and it's not to, but with these reflections, it still hurts, and it's still those things like, oh man. But we also understand this is reality. This is what happens. So, sorry if I was long-winded answering your question, Rick, but for me, it opens up our love for those in our lives, animals, people. It allows, when we really reflect on those things, it allows our heart to open to those things. I hope that answers your question. Very long. Hopefully it wasn't too long-winded. All right. Hello, Joe. I hope you're doing well. Oh, and Joe says, I noticed I got upset when I heard someone make fun of metta practice. I'm thinking I'm grasping the practice wrong. Any advice? Does metta fall under the fourth recollection, separated from metta? And I think there's a second part. I'll do the first part. Well, so it seems like there's, I guess, two parts. One of them seems more directed towards maybe moksha, but if I don't answer fully, Joe, please ask this question on Friday with moksha. Don't worry about what other people say about our practice. Only worry about your own mind, And people always criticize it. People criticize the Buddha. There's people that criticize what the Buddha had to say, what the Buddha's practice. There's people that criticize, everyone in this world, has critics. And so don't, just worry about your own mind. And sometimes people will say things that hurt us. That's just part of being an unawakened being. And we just move from that, and move forward. And don't worry about that. Don't worry about other people. Just keep on practicing doing metta. You have a strong metta practice, I know, and I encourage you to keep with that. And does metta fall under the fourth recollection? I would, you might ask other monastics and they may give you different answers, but as my, I really believe in the power of the Brahma Viharas, and I think the Buddha pointed to that, saying all aspects of our mind being filled with the Brahma Viharas, being filled with metta. And so, to me, all of them, all the recollections incorporate metta and the other Brahma Viharas. We have metta for all beings because they're subject to the same things that we are: old age, sickness, and death. They're going to be separated just like we are. And as I said, we have equanimity. We realize we're the owner of our karma. This is what it is. And so the other Brahman Viharas come in. So metta and all the Brahman Viharas have come into play, I think, in all five of the recollections. And I'll put you other comment. So we don't die alone. That's a good reflection, actually. I never thought about that. We're not dying alone. We're dying with every minute, and we're dying with a bunch of people. So I like that reflection. I'm going to keep that. Thank you, Jeff. And with some other thank yous, and thank you all. I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone's greetings and Anjali's, and I wish everyone a good night, good practice, much metta for everyone, and maybe we can take a few minutes, just a couple seconds, to dedicate all this merit, the merit of our meditation, the merit of this Dhamma talk, and share it with all beings, all those in the world, those families of the 105 people dying every minute. May you all be happy, peaceful, and know the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Thank you all, and I'll do the announcements to you. So tomorrow morning we have a sutta study with Aya Suvijana, and then also on Friday morning again a sutta study, and then Friday night monk chat, and then if you're local, Saturday 6 to 7:30 here in West Orange, New Jersey, we have a public program, and then Sunday, if you're again in West Orange, New Jersey, program 1 to 4. You can come earlier. There's a lunch offering at 11. It's a good time to meet other practitioners and other people. So again, thank you all. Please have a good night. Many blessings.